Hey, it's TaxQuips time from TaxMama.com. Today, TaxMama wants to give you some strategies or recommendations about how to deal with the retroactive changes from the American Rescue Act. Well, my friends, when Congress passed the American Rescue Act, they included some tax provisions that affected tax returns that had already been filed by millions of people. At the time, there was a great deal of confusion on what to do for those who had already filed and how to handle those benefits for people who had not filed yet. The two provisions that we're talking about, one making $10,200 of the 2020 unemployment income tax-free, and the other is waiving the 2020 repayment penalty or tax for those with marketplace insurance coverage whose incomes rose dramatically due to things like IRA and retirement plan distributions or excess unemployment that they weren't anticipating. What should they do? Well, the IRS says about both of these retroactive provisions, guess what? Do nothing. They've started to issue refunds to anyone who has already filed tax returns. These changes may affect many other areas of the tax return when adjusted gross income drops and tax liability drops. So is that a good idea to just sit and wait? Actually, yes, it is. Wait for the IRS to finish processing all of those refunds since they're going to be doing it anyway. Give them a couple of months for their computers to spew out their version of the recalculations on these retroactive revisions. Then consider amending. Why? Well, let's look at the unemployment issue. There are a few considerations that might increase the refund beyond what the IRS sent you. A, for married couples living in community property states who filed jointly, they are entitled to take two of those $10,200 reductions up to the amount of the total unemployment benefits received, even if only one of them received the unemployment income. Again, why? Because in a community property state, each person owns one half of all of the income of the other spouse. And this is one of those times when this rule really works in favor of the couple. B. The law limits the $10,200 tax-free benefit to tax returns with an AGI of less than $150,000. So couples whose joint income was higher than that, they don't get a refund at all issued automatically by the IRS. But if the couple filed an extension, even after they've already filed their tax return earlier, they are now permitted to file something called superseded returns, where each person files their own married filing separately tax return. This way, perhaps one or both spouses can bring their incomes below that $150,000 threshold to qualify to exclude the $10,200. Oh, you can't go from married filing jointly to married filing separately? Okay, that's true. The only way to do that, though, is by filing a superseded return. That replaces the original return as if it had never existed. It becomes the original return. And that return must be filed by the due date, including extensions of that year's tax return. That's why this will only work for somebody who put their tax returns on extension even after filing. What about the excess premium tax credit that doesn't need to be repaid? Well, many taxpayers file tax returns showing this balance due on their Schedule 2, Line 2. If they paid the tax, the IRS is sending them refunds. If they didn't pay the tax, and this is the only reason they have the balance due, the IRS is sending them letters reversing that balance due. Does filing an amended return change any of this? Not really. Since the penalty or fee is being waived entirely, it makes no difference how low you bring your adjusted gross income. Or does it? Yes, it does. Because when you file your superseded return to adjust for the unemployment issues, you might bring your adjusted gross income down low enough to actually end up with a refund on the Form 8962, the premium tax credit form. In that case, including this form in your superseded return is well worthwhile, isn't it? These strategies won't necessarily work for everyone, and you're probably going to need the help of an experienced tax professional to handle this. If they apply to you, the savings could be enormous. And that's it for now. If you have any other questions, you can always find answers to all kinds of questions about taxes and business issues and, of course, EA education for free. Where? Where else? At TaxMama.com.